Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would share a video with you about my budgeting techniques, purely because it is probably for you if you got paid before Christmas, week 5 of your pay packet. So pay weeks next, or paydays next week, the last week in January, and you are probably struggling and probably quite grumpy about having to budget. So I wanted to give you my budgeting techniques to make sure that you can stick to them for the final week, and also going forward, if your plan for 2019 is to get out of debt, then this should help you. So obviously I've written them all down. The first one, and this is the biggest one and thing that I make everyone do when they come and talk to me about budget, is to know your habits. Now unfortunately we all think actually, oh, there's no reason I'm in debt, or I don't spend any money apart from my bills and I'm not sure where it's all going. The only way to get these answers is to get your bank statements and your receipts if you've still got them, but mostly all of us now just tend to transaction on our card. If you get your bank statements and look through them, you will find your habits, and you need to know these habits in order to actually get your shit together. Like, if you do not know where your money is going, then you're absolutely screwed. Now, one of the biggest things, and I've mentioned it here before, that I do is I tend to buy in Tesco and Co-op and Sainsbury's Local, all of those type of places where I can grab food. That tends to be where I spend my money. I go to a garage, or I think, oh, I need to pick up some milk, and I go and get milk and I get distracted. This is also, if I'm honest with you, where my other half spends all of his money. Every single day he'll go and spend about £5 to £10 in Tesco next to his work, and it is an absolutely the #1 biggest drain on everyone's bank account. So if you want to stick to your budget, if you want to actually make a budget last and it's reasonable, you need to know your habits. Now, I'm not saying that you need to get rid of all your habits. If you spend every single Friday night, you are getting a takeaway, or you're spending £25 on, I don't know, some wine for the weekend, as long as you know that. A lot of people tend to budget and forget about what they do on Friday night. They forget that actually every single weekend they have a takeaway, every single weekend they go out and have a drink with their friends on a Friday night. People tend to forget that, and then that's when budgets go wrong and people start to get depressed because they've got no money. And the reason they haven't got no money is because they don't know what they're doing. Going on to #2, you need to give yourself at least 20% extra on top of your budget. Now, with a lot of help over years, I have now got this too. Basically, I give myself £5 a day for food. This is an example. I give myself £5 a day for food, and every single week I go food shopping. I then give myself an extra £5 actually per week to have in my bank account as oh shit. Now, if you can do this where you can have an extra 20% sitting in your bank account, so yes, you have your budget and that is what you're sticking to, but you have an emergency fund in your bank account, then it won't be detrimental if something goes wrong. That 20% is your oh shit, and you need to equate for that if you can. #3, and this is the one that kind of sees everyone through everything that's going on, and that is to learn and be inspired. If you are learning, like reading budgeting books and budgeting blogs and getting inspired by people like myself on YouTube and other kind of debt bloggers and financial bloggers, then you are going to want to succeed because you are watching people and learning constantly about how to succeed. So absolutely immerse yourself in this challenge. Like, everything that you could know, you need to know. And that leads on to #4, and this is just kind of a financial hack and a financial tip that I would recommend throughout the year, but definitely helps with budgeting, and that is to have lots of honey pots. One thing that my stepmom, ex-stepmom, used to actually be really good at, and she taught my dad and myself, is that you should have lots of honey pots. So I personally have like 4 or 5 main cash bank accounts, and then I actually have 5 savings accounts. Now, they are all for different things, and what I mean by having lots of honey pots is to have lots of accounts. Now, be very careful with this. You don't want to start opening accounts because you don't need them, and obviously you're not going to put money in, but essentially I have an account that my money goes into and that my bills come out of. I have an account that my set budget goes into, and I take the money out of that account. I have an emergency account just in case I have lost all the cards and I'm like, crap, I need another account. I have a savings account, I have an ISA, I have a tax account, I have a birthday and holiday fund account. Absolutely everything you can think of, all those little things you want to save for, that actually it gets so overwhelming when you are keeping that money in one place, or So if you've just got one bank account and you're trying to budget from that bank account, you see your bills coming out at different times of the month and you go, oh actually, I've got £700, but you haven't got £700 because your car payment doesn't come out until the 14th. So it's great to know that actually you have one account for this, one account for that, a savings account for this and a savings account for that. So open up some honey jars, people. And I did mention in the last point that I do have a budget or a bank account for my budget. Now, I take my budget out in cash and I would 100 million trillion % recommend you do that. Like, hands up, that has literally changed my game over the last year. Cash envelopes is a system by Dave Ramsey, and it is a very, very popular system for the reason that you have the money in front of you. We are taught now that actually just by swiping our watch or swiping our card and contactless payments make it so easy for us to not actually to comprehend the amount of money we are spending unless there is a £30 limit. But when you have cash in front of you, even spending £5, it's like an emotional attachment to that money and you don't want to give it over, and therefore you actually start thinking about your purchases and you become a conscious consumer. And that is amazing for saving money and amazing for getting you out of debt. So honestly, get a cash envelope system, and I will leave a link down below to my own cash envelopes that I actually make. And if you want to purchase something, you're more than welcome. But honestly, it's not rocket science. Take cash out every week. And my final point, and honestly the thing that you need to get your head round, is you need to start to love the process. If you hold resentment to this whole budgeting thing, if you're like, oh my god, I'm budgeting because I've got no money, or I can't afford this, you are gonna actually resent budgeting. If you budget your money so that you can have something and you say, actually, I am so thankful that I can have £50 a week to spend on things. Like, it's amazing that I found this money and that I know that sticking to this is actually gonna kind of get me out of debt and get me the things that I want and that I've been saving for and I've been dreaming for. You need to love to budget, and the reason you need to do it is because you need to know what your reason why is. So as long as your reason why is strong and you are learning and you're influenced by loads of people and you're actually doing your budgeting correctly, then you are going to love it anyway, and you just need to find a love for it. If you haven't got a love for it, find a love for it. My other half doesn't have a love for it until he looks at what he's done with the amount of money he saved, and then he goes, oh, do you know what, actually, this is all fucking worth it. Like, it's all worth it. So they are my 6 budgeting techniques and tips that hopefully will kind of inspire you for the last week until payday to not like whip out the credit card and just stick with whatever you've got left in your bank account, and to see you through 2019. And I will see you next week for another video.